Calling all authors, the Your Book, Your Voice podcast with host Robert A. Lane features everything you need to know about narrating your audiobook, but it doesn't stop there. We have special guests lined up from all aspects of the book publishing industry, and we also dive deep into what it takes to be mentally prepared for success as an author and in life. So please welcome your host, Robert A. Lane.
Hey, my friends, welcome to the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. Thank you so much for joining. Appreciate it immensely. I am Robert A. Lane. I am an audiobook coach and producer, and I specialize in helping nonfiction authors narrate a fantastic audiobook. Now, if you're a nonfiction author and you've written a book, maybe you've just published your book. That's great. That is such a great accomplishment. Or maybe you have a book that you've published a year ago or 2 years ago or 5 or 10 years ago. Turning your book into an audiobook is an awesome way to be able to relaunch your book, get it out there in the public again, let people know you exist, let people know that that awesome book that you created is out there for them to enjoy, and putting it in your own voice. And that's the key. You narrating your own audiobook and putting it in your own voice is what's going to set you apart from any of the other authors that are out there, any of the other books that are out there that are in similar genres that you are in, because you are utilizing your own voice. You are bringing forth your uniqueness, and that again is what allows you to stand out. I have an audiobook coaching program which is called Your Book, Your Voice, which I do help authors, nonfiction authors, take their book every step of the way. I guide them every step of the way from setup and preparation and narration to publication on the AAA. That's Audible, Amazon, and Apple, and any other distribution platform that works best for you. And those are things that we talk about from a marketing standpoint to see what works best for you and your author brand. But that's what I do. The program is 6 weeks, and you will record, narrate, and have your audio files uploaded for publication by the end of the 6 weeks. And that's great, man. That's a great timeline window to get your audiobook done. It doesn't take 6 months, doesn't take 6 years. It only takes 6 weeks. Very simple. All right, we have a great show for you today. We're going to dive into the steps to audiobook awesomeness. What does it take to create a great audiobook? And the things that I want to focus on today on the podcast, I'll talk about the actual process of this is what you need to do, this is how you create a great audiobook, and go through some of the practical and intangibles like the emotion and feeling and that kind of thing on the actual audiobook process. However, what I want to focus on are things that are steps that you need to take before you even hit that record button. And this is very important. And I find that a lot of authors don't really think about this too much. They are really more focused on the practical aspect. Oh, I got to get my equipment together if I'm going to record in my own space, or, do I have to find a studio? Do I have to do this? Do I have to do that? I have to set up a publishing account and ACX to be on Audible, Amazon, and Apple. How do I do that? There's so many hoops to jump through to get that done. Making sure everything is technically correct. Those are all very important. And then those are all things that do make a difference, and you have to do it, and you have to do it right and properly and to the best quality that you possibly can do. But there are steps that you need to take before you even dive into that. So I want you to really think about this. And the first step that I want to share with you is, what is your core reason? What was the purpose? Being tapped into the core reason of why you wrote your book in the first place. A lot of the authors that I've worked with have written some fantastic memoirs. They share their personal stories, and boy, do they take you on some incredible journeys. Some are very intense, some are really uplifting, but they're fantastic stories. And what makes their narration so great is that they are always tapped in to their core reason, the core purpose of why it was so important for them to write their book in the first place. And that's what you need to always be tapped into. Now, you were tapped into that whole reason of why this was so important for you to write your book in the first place. That same emotion and that same drive and energy and that fire inside that got you to write the book is the same that you bring to the table when you narrate your own audiobook. And it does need to be, again, you narrating your own audiobook, because there's no one out there who is more qualified to do it than you, the author, especially because it's your story. Nobody can tell your story better than you. Not another narrator, definitely not AI. That's cutting corners and it's a misrepresentation of your author brand. So you don't want to go that route. You need to narrate your own audiobook because it is in your unique style and your unique voice. And always remember that your voice is in your written word. It is in those pages that you've written, that you've published, and you're just bringing it to life, because no one can again go through or share the experiences that you've had, especially if it's a memoir. You went through some incredible journeys in your life and you're sharing that in your memoir. Nobody else can express it better than you because you lived it, you breathed it. All right. And if you're a coach or an entrepreneur or an educator or a teacher, or you have a program, or you're sharing your knowledge, this is your program. This is your coaching. This is your, uh, education that you want to share. You're teaching it and expressing it in your unique style, and that's what makes you you. So it definitely makes 100% sense for you to narrate your own audiobook because it's your program. You wouldn't have somebody else teach your program. I remember not too long ago, I was talking to uh, a coach who is coaching people about presentations and things of that nature. And he mentioned something, oh, I'd have this guy narrate my book. And I'm thinking, why? Why would you have somebody else narrate what you do? Because they're still going to interpret it their way and may not express what you do as a coach your way, because that's what allows you to stand out. Again, that is part of your author brand. So I even mentioned it to him. So you know what? The best person who's qualified to narrate your coaching program, your book, is you. No one can tell your story. No one can give your advice and coaching better than you. You've written it. This is your style. So always keep that in mind. So again, the first step for audiobook awesomeness is being tapped into your core reason. The other step to think about now, and again, this is all preparation before you even hit the record button, and this is so important, okay, is authentic self-expression, being your true authentic self. That's another key factor. And of course, it ties into everything with what I'm talking about now. Again, narrating your own audiobook, being your true authentic self. That's what makes you you. Now remember, as an author brand, you are the CEO of you. That means you are the boss of you. The decisions that you make for your author brand and your author business falls on your shoulders. So you want to make great business decisions that move your business forward as an author. Whether you wrote your book professionally, let's say you're a professional writer and that's all you do. And if you do, that's pretty fantastic. Cheers to you for doing that, because that's a great accomplishment. Or like a lot of authors, and most authors, especially those who self-publish, you've written your book at nights and weekends, and you fit it in at those times when you're not doing your day job or taking care of your family, and you still got it done. No matter how you wrote your book, always remember this. You are an entrepreneur. You are a professional. You've published your book. So when we say author brand, you really are a brand. You're an entrepreneur and this is your brand, and your product is your ebook and your paperback and your hardcover, and especially your audiobook. These are your great products. So don't ever consider yourself a hobbyist. You are a professional. Embrace that. Again, because this is all part of the steps to audiobook awesomeness, is understanding and appreciating, number one, the great accomplishment that you did for writing and publishing your book. Even if you're still in the process of writing it, that's great. Keep on going. And once you get it published, turn it into an audiobook. Take it to that next level. Because there's a whole audience out there that goes to audiobooks first before they even look for ebooks or paperbacks or hardcovers. And you want to tap into that audience and expand your reach. Because again, you need to have them hear your story in your own voice. So don't ignore that audience. It's a great audience, the audiobook world. It's been growing and expanding over the past several years, continuously growing and expanding by almost 27% annually. It's a great market for you to be in. So again, don't ignore that market. The other thing that you need to think about as part of your steps to audiobook awesomeness is goals. What are your goals? Are they just because you want to publish an audiobook? That's great. But what are some of the goals that you want to reach with that? Does it involve sales and revenue? That's good. That's part of it. That should be part of your goals. Maybe, again, it's expanding your author brand into a market that may not have discovered you yet, which is another great reason to do an audiobook. There's also other opportunities that will come up for you. Aside from sales, there's speaking engagements, going out and doing book signings, going to brick and mortar bookstores and doing signings. Go on a book tour if you can. Do it locally, do it regionally, however you want to do it. Get it out there. And it's a great opportunity because audiobooks are awesome. For example, I had an author that I worked with. We did her audiobook, and she's taken her audiobook as her calling card to get speaking engagements all over the place where she lives. And she lives in New York. That's a very competitive city out there. But she's getting speaking gigs. She's sharing her story. Her story was about her journey of cancer and overcoming this disease. And now she gets out there and she helps people and she talks to people at cancer treatment centers, at hospitals, at organizations, and all sorts of different things. And she's using her audiobook as her calling card. This is what I sound like. This is my story. It's a great thing. It's a great marketing tool. So something to think about in regards to your goals. Other things that you can do, and we'll dive into this a little bit more detail. Podcasting is a great avenue to get yourself out there to talk and promote your book. It's like going on a radio tour back in the day when bands would go on radio tours and they travel around the country and go to different radio stations. But what's great now, of course, is with podcasts, you can stay at home and still hit so many different markets all over the world and let them know that you exist, your author brand exists, and you have this fabulous book that's out there, and you have this fabulous story to tell in your own voice. So that's another great thing. All right. Now, I touched on this a little bit earlier, and that was about authenticity, right? Being authentic, your authentic self-expression. Don't let the inner critic in your mind, right? There's that, good angel, bad angel on your shoulder, the one that's saying, yeah, you're great, but that's the one you kind of you slough off. And then there's the bad one that says, you know what, you're not good enough. You don't have what it takes. You got to crush that voice. The inner criticism is not true. Those are false beliefs. And always keep that in mind. Because what it is, it's a couple of things. One of them is maybe it's putting you in a space that's not comfortable. And so your subconscious, it wants you to be comfortable. So it will do things to put up barriers or say things to you in your inner dialogue that will move you to a different position that's more comfortable than doing something that is maybe a little, unnerving for you. Don't listen to that inner critic. If that inner critic is telling you, oh, your voice is, your voice isn't great. No one's going to want to hear your voice. That's lack of confidence and belief in your own voice and who you are. Now, remember, your voice is such an integral part of your author brand, how you sound, how you speak. Think of it this way. Content is king, right? What you have to say in your story is king. People love Bob Dylan, for example. Bob Dylan may not be the greatest singer in the world, right? That is his voice. That's his style. Maybe you can't even understand the words he's saying when he sings sometimes. But really, what he has to say and what he talks about and what he sings about, what he writes about, it's the content. That's why he's so great. So don't worry about things like how you sound. It's what you have to say and what you have to offer that is so important. This is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm Robert A. Lane. We're talking about steps to audiobook awesomeness, and we're really focusing on some of the things that you need to do before you even hit that record button, because this is all Very, very important. If you'd like to join us and you have any questions about the audiobook world, I highly encourage you. This is why we stream live here on the Bold Brave TV network. To do this because it gives you an opportunity to get involved in the show. There's a phone number on the screen for those of you that are watching there, and you can also comment as well. We'd love to hear from you. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We will be back. This is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast on the Bold Brave TV network.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them. Rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies. Find settings that allow them to be the most productive and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
And welcome back. This is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Robert A. Lane. Our topic today is steps to audiobook awesomeness. Before we dive into some more great steps that you should consider as an author who is maybe considering turning your book into an audiobook, a couple of things. First of all, I do have an audiobook narration reference guide. It's my freebie that I want to give to you that has some tools and techniques on how to do a great narration, both from the practical aspect to the intangibles about emotion and energy and how to bring that forward in your audiobook narration. So by all means, grab that audiobook narration reference guide. There's a graphic on the screen you can check out there, which has the link to grab it, which is bit.ly/narration reference guide. Again, you can always go to robertlanecoaching.com to pick up your guide there as well. And the other thing that I want to share with you is if you are considering turning your book into an audiobook, reach out to me. The first step is a simple one, and that's just to schedule a call with me. A simple, quick, free audiobook consultation call. I would love to talk about your book, and we'll find out your marketing strategies, and then I'll give you details about the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program and how you can set up your own recording space, which I provide you the professional equipment you need to do that. And then we go through the art of how to do a great narration and then get you published on Audible, Amazon, and Apple by the end of the 6-week program. So the first step is, of course, to schedule a call. And the link for that is bit.ly/audiobook onboarding. Pretty simple. You can also go to robertlanecoaching.com. Again, everything is on the homepage. So check that out. Just wanted to share that with you. Feel free to book a call. Consultations, like I say, are free. I'm not going to hard sell you, but I want to make sure that you get the information that you need and that I'm there to help you every step of the way. This is why I love doing what I do as an audiobook coach and producer. And again, what thrills me is just the end result. When I hear authors who go through the program and I listen to their audiobooks, and man, they are so good. They are so good. They did such a great job Matter of fact, if you go to the website, robertlanecoaching.com, you'll see if you scroll down, there are samples of some of the authors who have gone through the program, and you can hear how they did their audiobook delivery. And man, they're fantastic, and they're not professional speakers, but they did such a great job because they brought their true, authentic self into their narration, and that's why they sound so fantastic. So you can do it. And again, I say this and I hit it home a lot, and that is you're the one person who is the most qualified to narrate your book and your audiobook. That's you, the author, hands down. Okay. So again, steps to audiobook awesomeness is a lot of it is mindset. There are a lot of things that we do to ourselves that create barriers that we have self-imposed limitations that we create for ourselves. Again, is it stepping outside of your comfort zone? Is that the reason why we put those barriers up? You shy away from that, so you step back? Could be. I find that most of the time it's some kind of fear. Maybe it's fear of a microphone. Maybe it's fear of speaking in public. And that boils down to having a fear of, even when you're sitting in your own little studio recording your own audiobook, back in the mind, you're thinking, God, this is just like doing a speaking gig. I feel so uncomfortable. And that's where that uncomfortable feeling comes in. But you will, again, create greatness through that. And excellence, right? Excellence is going to shine through. I know you want to do the best that you possibly can, especially when you're narrating your audiobook. Of course, quality is paramount. Quality is key. You want to do the best that you can. That's why you narrate your own audiobook, and you don't have another narrator do it, because another narrator is going to, again, interpret it their way and not yours. And definitely don't cut corners. I mentioned this earlier. AI is a misrepresentation of who you are. It's not even you. That's not representing your author brand. AI is soulless. You need to put your heart and soul into your narration. That's part of your author brand. Again, that's part of who you are, what you're all about, and you need to preserve the integrity of that author brand. So you don't want to cut corners. And think of it this way, okay? Every word that you say, every expression, every emotion, every energetic, I can't even think of the word I want to say, just your energy. All those intangibles are what make you you, and that makes you so unique. Every word is a masterpiece. It really is. And you need to honor every single word that you say, because that is, again, preserving the integrity of your author brand. Okay. So don't let limitations stop you. Some are self-imposed. Some limitations you may think, oh, wow, doing an audiobook is pretty intense. There's a lot of moving parts. And that's true. There is. There are a lot of moving parts to creating a great audiobook. And a lot of people say, I could just figure it out and do it myself. And then they go and they try to set up their account in ACX to get published on Audible, Amazon, and Apple. And they're like, wow, man, just navigating through this website is just ridiculous. And then they stop. Or they think, wow, there's so much work to have to record an audiobook. And then they stop. Don't do that to yourself. Okay? Don't do that to yourself. Get help. If you want to lose weight, what do? You hire a trainer. You hire a nutritionist. You get back in shape. If you want to advance in your career, you hire a career coach. You hire somebody that can help you with your resume, that can teach you some great tools and techniques to, climb your way up the corporate ladder. If you are having issues in your relationships, or maybe you are looking for love, right? Then you hire a relationship coach that can help you with that aspect of your life. Same thing with books. Like when I wrote my book, I got my book. I wrote my book, Lights Action You. Came out a couple of years ago. I knew that I needed to get help on how to write a book. I did not have that experience to be able to do it, and to do it right, and to do it with the quality that I want it to be, right? Because again, quality is paramount. So I hired a book coach, and it was great. Book coach showed me steps. These are the things you need to do to create a great outline, and these are the steps you need to take. And my book coach was my accountability partner, kept me on track. There are other authors that were in the program that I was in, and we were accountability partners for each other. It was a great experience. And I wrote that book and got it published in way faster than I could have ever imagined. And definitely way, way faster than if I tried to do it on my own. So I got help, and it was worth it 100%. Best investment I've ever made. So you, as an author, you're an author brand, you want to do an audiobook, then get help. This is why I do what I do. Book a call. Let's talk. I'm happy to help you out, because getting help, hiring a coach, having somebody there to be your safety net, your support system, your coach, your mentor, your accountability partner to make sure that you're doing everything the right way. And then having somebody there who can also understand and provide the technical aspect, because again, recording an audiobook isn't just hitting record and then reading your book and then just uploading it for publishing. Because if it doesn't sound good and if it doesn't meet the exact specifications that are required for publication, your book's going to get rejected. And all those hours of time that you spent recording are going to be all for nothing. And you don't want to do that. So that's why it's great to have help, to have a coach, to have somebody there to help you guide through the process, because it is a process, but you can do it. It may sound overwhelming. It may sound like, wow, I don't know if I can do this, but you can. And then you know what? Honestly, when you have somebody there to help you, it's so much easier. And then you're going to get into your groove and you're going to realize, wow, this is really great. I'm having a great time. I'm having fun. I'm enjoying the process. I'm telling my story the way I want it to be told, the way I want it to be heard. And this is great. And that's what happens when you get help. So don't shy away from that, okay? And again, crushing your fears. Fear of public speaking, fear of the microphone, fear of any of those fears. Don't create these barriers. And I don't want to hear you say, I hate my voice. Because your voice is part of who you are. Your voice is part of your author brand. Your author brand is everything about you. Everything that encompasses who you are. Everything. The way you were brought up, your habits, your belief systems, your personality, your sense of humor, all of that. That's who you are. And that is your brand. That is your brand. So embrace everything about you, and your voice is included in that. Because again, that's what allows you to stand out. I say this a lot because it is so important for you to grasp that concept, that when you narrate your own audiobook, you are putting yourself in the forefront, because there's no one else like you. No one else like you in the universe that can replicate who you are. There may be imitators, but they're not you. There are subtleties and nuances about who you are that you bring to the table. You brought those to the table when you narrated your audiobook, or when you wrote your book, and you're going to bring those to the table when you do narrate your audiobook. And remember, like I said about Bob Dylan, it's not only about the voice. It's about content. It's about content. That was the driving force, or one of the main driving forces of why you wrote your book in the first place, because you had a great story that was so powerful that you were so moved to write a book and publish it. Again, the very first thing that I mentioned about steps is always being tapped into the core reason of why you do what you do. Why was it so important to write this book? Why is it so important for the world to hear your story? What were the reasons? There's a variety of reasons. Some are it's especially if it's a traumatic story that you're sharing, it's therapeutic to get it out of your system, to put it down in book form, and that could be a reason why you've published your book. Another reason, which seems to be a very popular one, and it is a great one, is that you are sharing your experience because maybe somebody has had a similar experience and they can relate to what you went through. And it develops this camaraderie. You make a connection with the people because of, wow, they have experienced the same emotions that I have. I mentioned about the author I worked with who went through cancer. I have another author who published her book and did her audiobook, and she talked about being sucked into a religious cult. I have an author right now, I'm working on her book about her husband passing away unexpectedly and dealing with that whole uh, trauma, and it is a trauma, but how she was able to rise above and get through it. And now she wrote this book because she was compelled. She tapped into her core reason. And she knows that there are other people out there who've lost loved ones. And maybe her story can be inspirational for somebody else. And that reader and now listener, because she's telling a great story, she's doing a great, oh man, I can't wait to get her audiobook published. We're like real close to getting it published now. And it's a great book and a great story. And I'll have her on the show too once we get that audiobook out there. But to be able to help people go through these experiences that have had similar experiences, now there's a connection, and that's such a great thing. And maybe that's your reason, all right? Because it is all about content. Now, again, well, I say this, and I shared a story. I'm not going to dive into that story. It kind of goes into a different direction. But basically, there's something that I would say to myself about confidence. And that is, who cares what other people think, right? Who cares how you sound? This is who you are. If you're confident and you're narrating with conviction and authenticity, it doesn't matter what you sound like, because again, it is content. Like I said earlier, content is king. What you have to say, the story you have to tell, the coaching program that you want to teach, that you've written a book about, that's what's important. All right? That is what's important. So don't worry about what other people think. It doesn't matter what other people think. What matters is you preserving the integrity of your author brand. That is what is very, very important. Okay? So don't let any fears, don't let any barriers, don't let that inner dialogue stop you from doing what you need to do for your author brand. Don't stop from doing your audiobook and narrating it yourself. And I'll say it again, and I will say it a million times, is that there's no one more qualified to narrate your audiobook than you. These are really important steps to think about and to consider before you even hit the record button. And it's, I just feel the mindset aspect, the confidence aspect, all of these things, having your goals set, all of these things are so important. Keep those in mind, because that's all part of your author brand. This is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. We're going to take another quick break. We have more things to talk about. We're going to talk more about goals. We're going to talk about, again, the actual process of turning your book into an audiobook and what that entails. So don't go away. We are streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality? But it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating. Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like, it was almost instant. Like, I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic on the BBM Global Network, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
All right, welcome back. This is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. Thank you so much for joining. Steps to Audiobook Awesomeness is our topic today. A lot of things that we're focusing on, and what I'm sharing with you deals with mindset and confidence and excellence and embracing yourself as an entrepreneur and your author brand. These are all very important things to always keep in mind, always be tapped into your core reason and purpose, because that all comes through in your audiobook creation and your audiobook narration delivery. Again, all nonfiction authors, I'm a big advocate of this, and all nonfiction authors need to narrate their own audiobook, because no one can tell your story better than you. You are the one who is the most qualified to speak your story in the way that you want it and intend it to be heard. It's that simple. All right. Before we dive into some more aspects of audiobook awesomeness, again, I just want to share with you the fact that I do have a freebie for you, and that is an audiobook narration reference guide that you can download. It's a PDF download, which has a lot of great tools and techniques on how to do a great audiobook narration. And it's my gift to you. Just download it. It's bit.ly/narration reference guide. bit.ly, it's bit.ly, bit.ly/narration reference guide to grab your copy. Again, you can go to robertlanecoaching.com to grab a copy of that as well. There's a link there, a little button there that you can click on the website to grab that. And of course, the other thing is, as I say, all nonfiction authors need to narrate your own audiobook. If you want to find out more about what it takes to create an audiobook and get more information about the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program, that's where you get in touch with me with one simple step, and that is just to schedule a call. You just book a call with me. All right, book a call with me, and we'll talk about your book. And the most important thing is this, and the reason why I have you talk with me first. We have a quick little Zoom meeting, and you tell me about your book and your goals and your marketing strategies and all those things, and I give you the details about the audiobook coaching program I teach. And the reason why I want to speak with you, because it is about personal connection. When you are working with somebody, whether it's a coach like what I do, or just anybody for that matter, personal connection is so important, because I want to make sure that I resonate with you. And I want to make sure that you resonate with me, because we're going to be working together. All right. We're going to be working together, and man, we got to have a connection. Okay. So that's what's so important. And I don't believe in sending people to a landing page and all you do is scroll for like ever until you get to the bottom, and then they say, okay, give me your credit card. It's very impersonal. And I believe in the human connection, because that's so important, which is why, again, if I am not an advocate of AI doing your narration, because that is not a human connection. You lose that. And plus, it's, as I said before, it's a misrepresentation of who you are as an author. That's not your author brand. Don't let something misrepresent who you are. You've worked too hard to do that. You put too much of your blood, sweat, and tears and money and effort and everything that you did to write your book and now create an audiobook. Don't cut corners there. All right. It's that important. So again, book a call, and you can just go to my website at robertlanecoaching.com. There's plenty of places there where there's little buttons say book a call. And we'll go to my personal calendar and you'll speak with me directly. And you will work with me directly too, because I work with all the authors that go through my program. We work one-on-one. And that's just a really safe and comfortable way to help you as an author create something fantastic in your own voice. All right. So audiobook awesomeness, there's a couple of things I do want to still touch on before we dive into some of the practical aspects. And just some things that I just want you to understand. As a coach, I understand that you may feel overwhelmed, and it's normal to feel overwhelmed. It's normal to feel like you're not good enough. And again, those are those little voices, that inner dialogue that's telling you these things. about not being good enough, and you are. You really are. One of the things I do with my authors who go through the program is, here's the assignment I give them. Write out 10 affirmations about yourself, about you being an author, about your voice, about your author brand, whatever it takes, and write them out. And then once you write them out, read them and say them out loud. And you do it until you feel it, because you need to feel it. I am a great author. I am a great narrator. I love my voice. I have a great voice. My author brand is awesome. My story is fantastic. I am a great speaker. People love to hear me tell my story. Whatever the affirmation is, write out 10 of them and then read them and say them until you feel it. All right, don't just go, I love my voice. I'm a great narrator. No, say it again. I love my voice. I love my voice. I love my voice. I really love my voice. I am a great narrator. You feel the difference. You feel it. And when you feel it, then your subconscious will believe you. And when your subconscious believes you, then now you have rewired your brain to believe in you and yourself and everything that you have to offer and everything that encompasses who you are, again, as an author brand. Do it. It's important, right? These are very, very important things. But I understand it. I get it. I used to say a lot of things. I wrote 3 poetry books a long time ago, and you know what? I never had them published. Maybe one day I will. And I will make audiobooks out of them, of course. But I had a poem that was called Not Good Enough. And it was definitely that inner dialogue that I would say to myself all the time. You're this, but you're not good enough. You're that, but you're not good enough. And that's so not true. All right. It's so not true. The other beauty about turning your book into an audiobook is that you are transforming your story into your legacy. And that is a great thing. That is such a great thing, because now you are able to share your story in your own voice, leaving a legacy not only in written form, but now in audible form. So people for generations to come can now hear you tell your story in your unique voice. All right. And it needs to be heard, and it deserves to be heard in your own voice, because you're sharing your truth to the world. I've said this once before about how great it is that we actually have the technology to do this. Wouldn't it be great if somebody back in history was able to record their memoirs or their book in their own voice and hear them tell their story? Oh, it would be fantastic. But you see, what's great now is that we have the opportunity, we have the ability, and we have the technology to be able to do that. So take advantage of that, all right? I mentioned earlier about goals. Something to think about in regards to your goals. And I know that you've probably heard this. What's your 1-year goal? What's your 5-year goal? What's your 10-year goal? And you're like, as an author, I don't know, just write and publish books, right? Or get my audiobook out there. That's part of it, but think about it. So what would be your goals for the first year? Definitely getting your audiobook out there. And again, promoting and marketing it. And it doesn't stop after launch day. That's one of the biggest mistakes I see authors do. They launch their book and they talk about it for maybe a couple of weeks. And then the next thing you know, they're not promoting it anymore. And then they scratch their heads wondering why, how come I'm not making any sales? You got to continue the marketing and PR. You just have to do it. That's part of who you are as an author, as an entrepreneur. This is your brand. You got to keep talking about it. All right. Put it out there. Social media. And there are obviously other ways to market yourself. So maybe your first year goal is getting speaking gigs. As I mentioned earlier about the author who went through my program who uses her audiobook as a calling card. Brilliant idea. Getting great speaking gigs out of it too, because it helps establish your author brand. Yeah, and of course, other ways that you can do that is going on, as I mentioned earlier, podcast tours, book signings, going to, depending on what your book is about, maybe if it is about trauma and it's about a specific type of trauma, you find those groups and organizations where you can speak and then sell your book. It's a great way to make some revenue, and you're doing what you originally set out to do, and that was to help people. helping people. That's a great goal, right? So that could be your first year goal. All right. Those are things that you can do. Now, 5 years? Well, let's see. Well, 5 years, now you've been marketing and promoting and talking about your book, and maybe you've written another book and now you're promoting that as well. And you're going out there and putting yourself out there. You have now been establishing yourself as an author brand. Now, you're a legit author brand. You are a legit entrepreneur. And what does that gain for you? It gains respect. It gains authority. And again, there's continued revenue for you with selling your audiobook, ebook, paperback, and hardcover, which again are your products. So what are the 10-year goals? Well, let's see. Now you've really established your legacy. You've put yourself out there for generations to come, right? Your book and your audiobook are now still inspiring people 10 years after you've published it. That's such a great thing. And remember, that's going to continue on. It's not just 10 years, it's for generations to come. Such a great thing. That is audiobook awesomeness, my friends. These are steps that you need to take to create audiobook awesomeness. It's not just, again, hitting the record button and narrating and publishing. There are these factors that come into play, because if you're not confident, you don't believe in your voice, you create these barriers, you're listening to that inner dialogue that is negative, that's stopping you from moving forward. You need to stop doing that. These are the steps that you need to take for audiobook awesomeness so that your audiobook is awesome. Having the confidence, loving your voice, building your author brand, tapping into that core reason of why you wrote your book in the first place, and always bringing that through your true authentic self. That's what makes a great audiobook. We're going to take one more quick break, and then I'm just going to go over the process of what it takes to record an audiobook, in case you are not familiar with what it takes, because it is a process and there are steps you definitely need to take. And we'll dive into that. And I'll tell you a little bit more about the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program as well. So don't go away, my friends. We will be back. We are streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network.
Mike Zorek, a three-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a 6-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2 thirds, and 2 fourths. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorek, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorek has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk on the BBM Global Network. Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success, as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers, as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays 10 a.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network, and tune in radio as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com.
All right. Thank you for joining the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm Robert A. Lane. And boy, it's been an interesting discussion talking about the steps to audiobook awesomeness, that things are all things to prep yourself, especially mentally, and how important that is. But I do want to cover the actual practical aspect in case you are not familiar with what it takes to create an audiobook. And it is a process, all right? And these are all things that I teach you in the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program. But let's go over the actual process. When you record an audiobook, you're not grabbing your book and you're not just starting from the beginning and then just reading and narrating in one sitting. You can't do that. First of all, it's not going to sound good because you're going to get tired. Your voice is going to get fatigued, and that's just not the way to do it. So actually, the way an audiobook is put together is that each part of your book is divided up into sections. So for example, in my book, Lights, Action, You, this book has 14 chapters. Well, that's 14 audio files right there. And now pieces from the front matter of your book, pieces from the back matter of your book are all separate audio files as well. So there's opening credits, introduction, maybe you have a foreword, maybe you have, what do you call it? A prologue. That's the word I was thinking. All these other pieces of your book are all separate audio files. Dedication. Then you have your acknowledgments, your closing credits, your epilogue, your what do you do next? Or, whatever other little sections of your book that you have. Everything is a separate audio file. So you may have, 20, 30, 40, maybe 50 or more audio files, separate audio files. May sound overwhelming, but honestly, it's not, because when you're recording your audiobook, it does break it up into sections, and it does make it easier for you to do your narration because you don't feel that overwhelm. You don't feel that weight on your shoulders to think, wow, man, I'm going to have to record for hours to get this done. You don't have to do that, all right? You do it in sections. It makes it a lot easier. And one of the pieces of advice that I give my clients is when you narrate your audiobook, do it in linear fashion. It just makes sense because you're used to how the story unfolds, and it just makes better sense. Also from an energetic level, it makes better sense to do it that way as well. So everything is done in sections and pieces, okay? The other thing that you need to do, of course, is to be published on Audible, Amazon, and Apple. You need to set up a publication account with ACX, which is the umbrella account that will get you on Audible, Amazon, and Apple. And that can be a process as well. But again, that's part of what I do to help you get through that process. Now, you need to have your audiobook recorded as professionally as possible. Now, I do have my clients set up their own recording space in their own home or their office or wherever they feel most comfortable recording. And I provide you with the equipment that you need, a professional microphone, professional headphones, and it's yours to keep, okay? And not cheap stuff, not $50, $100 mics. The equipment that I send you, you're getting like $400 worth of gear for being enrolled in the program, and it's yours to keep. That's part of what it is. Because again, I don't believe in cutting corners, and I want you to sound the best that you can possibly sound. So I'm going to provide you with the best equipment. And that's all there is to it. And then you can use it for your next audiobook, or when you go on your podcast tour. Now you have a professional microphone, a podcast microphone that will sound fantastic, and you're going to sound great when you go on your podcast tour. So that's something that I am very happy to include as part of the program. So, and then also, again, setting up your own recording space is great, because what it does is that it gives you the opportunity to record on your schedule. So you don't have the pressure of having to go to a recording studio. And, if you're having an off day and you're not getting everything completed that you wanted to, your time is up, They're going to boot you out. And that is just an extra pressure that you don't want to put on yourself, okay? The next phase that a lot of authors sometimes forget, that is, you have to have your audio files cleaned up, make sure they sound great, and most importantly, meet the exact specifications for publication. That's all part of the process. If it doesn't, your audiobook will get rejected. And I'll tell you, Audible has no problem rejecting audiobooks that do not meet their specs. So very important. And you have to have that done. That's just part of the process. So the other thing to think about as well as part of the audiobook process is planning your PR and marketing strategy. While you're recording your audiobook, have a plan. Promote it. Bring people in. Show them behind the scenes. It's a great thing. Like, I love it when bands do that. When bands are recording an album and they show the process of how they're doing it as they're doing it. It's the same thing. It's exciting. You're letting your readers and your followers and your future listeners for your audiobook hear you and see what it takes to create this great masterpiece that you are creating. And it is a masterpiece. So that's basically the overview of what it takes. And it is a process, but that's what it takes to create a great audiobook. Now, if you enroll in the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program that I teach, again, I provide the equipment for you. We work one-on-one. We have our weekly calls. We have all this great material. I have video lessons and PDF reference materials that you can download, everything that you need. And I'm with you every step of the way as your coach. Now, I've got 25 plus years experience as an audio editor. That's what I do, as well as being a coach. And you just send your files to me. I clean them up. I make sure that they meet the exact specs for publication. I will upload your files for publication into Audible, Amazon, and Apple for you, because I will 100% guarantee that your audiobook will not be rejected. And I will make sure that all your audio files are uploaded. And if there are any issues about it, I know what they are. I can make adjustments and get it all fixed. And this is all on my shoulders, not yours. So that alleviates that stress, because the goal of the program is just to have you do a great narration. And that's it. I'll do all the other heavy lifting for you. All right. That's all you need to worry about. Anyway, that's what I do. If you're interested, go to my website at robertlanecoaching.com. Easy, robertlanecoaching.com. Book a call with me, and we'll talk about your book and get you enrolled. It's that simple. All right. We're just about out of time. I do appreciate you hanging out. One last assignment, of course, is that when you're out and about in the world, smile at a stranger, say hello to them, maybe even give them a compliment, because that small gesture of kindness makes the world of difference. Can make a world of difference in somebody's life, especially if they're having a bad day. Be a life changer, all right? And be good humans. Thank you again. I'm Robert A. Lane. This is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. If you want to find out more about what I do as an audiobook coach and producer, again, go to robertlanecoaching.com. Everything is there for you to check out, all right? We're streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. We will talk to you next week, my friends. Take care.
This has been Your Book, Your Voice with host Robert A. Lane. Tune in each week for another powerful and informative episode of Your Book, Your Voice, Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network.